Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Traffic Speed Limit and Road Closures hearing panel, 15th of February. Just want to quickly welcome all the visitors in the chamber, staff, Deputy Mayor Angela. I'd like to acknowledge you, and of course those watching online today. I thought I'd start today's meeting. As you know, I like to have a little fun fact to kick off with, and I thought in light of yesterday's significant celebration of love, I'd talk to you about the wonderful virtues of St. Valentine's Day. So here's a little fun fact that you might not know. According to history, the first Valentine was sent in the 15th century. The oldest record of that Valentine being sent is a poem written by French medieval duke named Charles to his wife in 1415. Charles penned his sweet note to his lover while he was imprisoned in the Tower of London at just 21 years old. He was arrested after the Battle of Agincourt, which I believe there's a street in Hamilton named Agincourt, isn't there? So there you go. Next time you drive down that road, you can make the link to Valentine's Day. Okay, that fun fact out of the way, I'll kick on into the important stuff. So, first item on our agenda today is apologies. I'll move and Councillor Ewan to second. All those in favour say aye. I did. Oh, sorry, there were no apologies. No, sorry. Yep. Yeah, sorry. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against, nay. Ayes have it. Right, confirmation of the agenda. Now, we're all good with the agenda? Yep. Okay. Yep, circulated. I'll move the agenda. Councillor Ewan, you'd like to second again? Yep. Okay. Okay. Yeah, fire away.
I just want to inquire, there's a meeting on Monday at Access Hamilton where a number of transport issues are being brought to it, including some Road to Zero ones, and I note there's a couple of Road to Zero ones in here. I just want to ask whether or not any of the projects in this agenda are included in that meeting.
Yes.
Which ones would those be?
The River Road,
Okay.
Waikato. Yep, and I'm happy to talk to that when we get to that item, if you like.
Great.
Just explain the plan on that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Right, cool. Okay, so we had Councillor Ewan as a seconder, so all those in favour say aye, those against, nay, the ayes have it. No declarations of interest. Oh, are there any declarations of interest?
I just want to acknowledge GoEco was consulted for feedback, but I have zero involvement in our submission process.
Okay.
And I don't feel conflicted.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you for raising that anyway. That's good. Anyone else? No? Okay. So no vote required on that. Item number 4, confirmation of the last minutes. You happy to move, Ewan? Can I have a seconder? I wasn't present. Councillor Louise? Yep. All those in favour? Aye. Ayes have it. I didn't. Yep. Okay. And that brings us to item 5, Hamilton City Safer School Speed Limit changes. And Robin. Good morning.
Good morning. Right, let's get myself in the right place in the agenda. So this item is just further to the report that we did on the 5th of December when we've gone through and done the final checks on the school speed limits. We found that we had missed out of the schedule 2 small cul-de-sacs, and we have checked back on the consultation on that. We hadn't had any feedback, so it's really just trying to tidy that all up so that we're all ready to go. So happy to take any questions.
Sorry.
Through the chair.
Yes.
The cul-de-sacs that you're talking about, do they have a direct touch point with the school?
They're not. They touch onto roads that have already had 30 k's put on them. So if we didn't change this, we'd have to then put signs to say as you went into the cul-de-sac, that it was 40 or 50, depending on what its current speed limit is, and then you'd have to have the change as you came out. So they're quite short ones and are adjacent to other roads that we've already put in.
Right. And so it's a measure of convenience, really, and
And they're short cul-de-sacs where
Right.
30s are, the length is such that 30 is an appropriate speed.
okay. And you're comfortable that the residents find it acceptable?
Yes, we've done the consultation, letter drops with each of them, yes.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
No other questions from the floor? No one? Okay, yep, you happy to move, Councillor Ewan? Councillor Maxine? Yep, okay. All those in favour? So aye, okay, ayes have it. Okay, now, in our run sheet, it says that we were going to be presented by Adita, but I believe, Robin, you're going to present.
Yes, so the parking restrictions report. So as per the normal approach, we have gone out and done consultation in lots of places with changes for parking restrictions. Where there are simple changes and we've had no feedback from anyone, we've just included them in the schedules and the pictures. Where we've had some feedback from people, we've detailed that. We've detailed any processes that we've worked through to try and negotiate and find a position where people are comfortable. We've also included any items that we thought might be of specific interest. And further to Councillor Jeff's question, my intention is to work through that report and just pick through those ones where I believe that we've got some interest. So I'm intending to take the report as read, and then with your leave, I will work through Wiltshire Drive, River Road, Faux Street, give you a quick update on the cycle path, cycle lanes, and the all-day parking. You happy with that?
Yes,
Okay.
and
Right, so
Mention
if I'll
that, yeah.
start on Wiltshire
and
Drive then?
sorry, Robin, and just acknowledging the written submission?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So if I jump into Wiltshire Drive,
Yep.
so this is one that there is a written submission for, and I understand that Deputy Mayor is going to talk to that. So this is a location where we have a bit of an S-bend. We've had a customer ask for some no stopping to be put in. We've done an assessment from a safety perspective and don't believe that it's needed, but they have come back. We have suggested that we would take it through consultation process and then bring it to the panel today to consider that. And so I'm happy to answer on any questions perhaps after Deputy Mayor's covered off her part.
Thanks, Robin. I did send it out, I think it's in Diligent now, right? The two pieces of paper from Fraser Law, who I met with late last year and went out to the site. So I mean, it's in the report for everyone to see. Just speaking on Fraser's behalf, his concern is eloquently written in his submission. And when I was out there, there happened to be, if you're on page 34, and you can see on the visual there, you can see the dotted yellow lines on each side of the road. I happened to be parked. There happened to be two utes parked on each spot, and I was tucked in by one of them, and as I said goodbye to Mr. Law and went to leave, I nearly found myself in a bit of a head-on with another car. But that aside, so a couple of questions, Robin, is in terms of the consultation, the feedback's on page 34, so did we just visit those houses affected just in that area? Like, I can see on the visual you've numbered them.
Yes, so that's the standard approach, is to consult with those people that are immediately adjacent to the proposed restrictions.
And did we get feedback from all of them?
No, we had feedback from one.
And so how do we knock on the door, or are we saying we put letters in the letterbox?
No, we do letter drops. For staff safety and for time, we can't afford to be doing door knocks unless we get into, where we've got some of those major projects, where we've got businesses and that sort of thing. Definitely we're going in door knocking, trying to catch up with the business managers and those sorts of folks. But for these sorts of ones, where we do lots of them, it is a letter drop.
Okay, all right, so that's not helpful to figure out exactly what the residents want. So my concern with this is, and I may propose a motion, that right throughout the report, and even just on the following page, Earthmover Crescent, given it's a busier street, but we are putting in no stopping signs on many, many projects throughout this report on curves and roads, because that's where cars park. So it's not a matter of speed, it's a matter of safety for Wiltshire Drive. How am I supposed to reconcile that in the report for this particular project?
Yes, so I guess we looked at each case on its own merits. Earthmover Drive has lots of very large truck and trailer units, as you can see in the aerial photograph. It is quite a tight road, and in this case it's not been done for visibility, it's been done for the ability for trucks and trailers to get in and out of the driveways that they have. In the case of Wiltshire Drive, we are calling on the experience that we've had in Hammond Horn area round by the school, where we had a period of time where we had removed parking in a very similar situation, and we noted the speeds, and we had a 5k approximate speed increase with vehicles going through there. So I guess we use parked cars as a form of traffic control, traffic calming. That has to be obviously taken with a balanced approach towards safety. In this case, we don't believe that there's a need for it, but we're happy to let this committee decide. We thought that it was best to bring it here and make that final decision.
Okay, thanks, Robin. So on page 74, Churchill Evans Stokes Crescent proposed parking restrictions. The road layout's different, but it's a residential road, and we're putting yellow lines around two curves, I'm assuming to stop cars parking and blocking views. Same on...
Yes, and that's at an intersection.
Yeah.
So that was the other point. So I went through the exact process that you're looking at, Deputy Mayor, and looking at other situations where we were proposing it. Most of them actually are at intersections, the other locations, whereas this one isn't.
So the other issue there, in terms, because the concern is safety for the resident, is that there are no lines on the road anyway. There's no form of marking, there's no white line, there's nothing.
Yes. And that's an approach that we have been taking for quite some time in regard to the safer speed areas, where we're trying to minimise the amount of road marking in those areas. And that's an approach that was developed in conjunction with Dr. Sam Charlton from the Waikato University, was to try and provide different cues to drivers in different locations. So when you're out on your arterials and main roads and that sort of thing, then where there's lots of paint and control. When you come into these residential areas, we're trying to reduce that and I guess provide a bit more something that looks different, to try and reinforce the fact that they are in a different type of area, and trying to get the motorists to take more attention of the driving space they're in. So that's a general approach that's been used for some time. Okay, I'll leave it for other committee members' questions for now. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Are there any other questions on that particular site? Or
Councillor Louise.
Just looking through the feedback received from other people on the street, another owner seems to sort of have concerns about it, but also asks why we haven't installed a speed bump.
So that, I guess, is part of this ongoing rollout we've had for our safer speed areas, is trying to put in speed management at locations where they're going to get well used by not only to manage the speed, but also to be used by people crossing the road,
Yep.
that sort of thing. We do try not to throw them everywhere. We do keep an eye on the speeds, and in general, these locations are getting speeds between that 40, 45 sort of K an hour. And at the end of the day, it's working within a limited budget.
Yeah, I just was curious because one of the residents seems to be requesting it, which is nice. But just curious about whether or not some kind of speed bump in addition to the yellow lines. Obviously, it wouldn't be something we could do right away, but is that a sort of, would that be a compromise that could work?
It's something that we could, we can put in the markings if that's what elected members decide today. We can monitor speeds, we can check in with the residents there. And then at the end of the day, we've got a long list of sites where people are asking for speed management of some description. And then we just have to work through, try and prioritise that. We tend to try and prioritise areas where we haven't done any work previously. But that would work into that process and ultimately be something elected members would have to decide.
Councillor Wilson.
Thanks, Chair. Robin, I'm obviously referring to the Fraser Law submission and assertions that are at the end of the list. I was struggling to find them initially, but I've eventually found them. I just want to clarify a couple of points. First of all, he asserts that there's been no safety report or analysis done by council. Is that correct?
We don't sit down and write detailed reports for every site. We go out, we have a look at the site, we make an assessment. In this case, that assessment was shared, and the work that we'd gone through and the thinking that we had was provided through to Mr. Law. I think he was expecting a separate report, and as we've explained to him, we don't do that at every site. We do it where we've got major projects, but we don't do it for every site like this because it is a fairly minimal sort of process to work through.
Okay.
So it's not that there's been no investigation done, it's just the fact that there's not an official bound stapled report type thing produced.
But did you look at any records of reported accidents or occurrences or reported near misses or?
Yes, they're all the sorts of things that we take into account when we look at these, and that was provided through to Mr. Law.
And so, I mean, he says that the report and its conclusions are defective. Do you agree with that?
No, and that's why we're not recommending the installation. But as I've said earlier, we've got a situation here where we've got a customer who's not happy with the response that staff have given, which is why we've brought it up to this panel to make a decision.
And sorry, just remind me, of all the submissions you've had, it was just this particular house that verbalised or made written submissions. There's no other one that I can see?
That's correct. So we've had Mr. Law's request, and then when we did the letter drop, we had one resident come back, and those points are outlined in item
And
25.
I mean, it can't be, it's not that expensive, is it, to put the yellow?
No, it's not an expense issue. It's about whether it has an impact on speeds and then subsequently requires us to go back and look at other things to try and manage the speeds as a result.
Cool, thank you.
Councillor Van Oosten.
Thank you. Robin, you just mentioned that a consequence of putting in the no stopping lines could lead to increased speeds in the area. What do we know about that particular area in terms of its relationship with other streets and its design in that fairly new subdivision?
So I guess it's reflective of the new style of road building. It's not straight lines, it's not a grid network. That in itself helps to manage the speed. So I guess one of the design principles when you're looking at these sorts of streets is not to have long straight lengths where it's really visible. That encourages speed. So having something that's slightly more meandering in style, having street trees, those sorts of things all just create an environment that helps lower speeds.
And has that been our observation there? Do we do any kind of mapping of the speeds that people are travelling up that way?
We do some, and in general, as I said earlier, the speeds are generally in that 40 to 45. There's always outliers who, go a bit faster, sometimes go a lot faster. So, as I said, we use parked cars as a form of traffic management.
And if those parked cars weren't there, would we expect to see potentially those speeds increase?
We believe it's a potential, yes.
And is it a cut through to any other way, or is it really just about local traffic using the road?
I think there is some use of this as a cut through to other locations, yes.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Welcome.
Right, if everyone's happy, I will move through to River Road.
Yep.
Is that okay? Okay. Right, let me just scroll down here, get to the right page. Yes. I've got it written down as 56. 56 I wrote in my cheat sheet, so, oh no, here we go. No, it's clause 56, sorry. Just about put your crook. Clause 56, page 45. 45 page. Yep. Sorry about that. Okay, so River Road raised signalised pedestrian crossing. At the moment, there is a small island in River Road outside the Dio. We are looking to install and have a variable 30k speed limit in place. So that was part of the school speed limit changes that went through in December. We've been working through with the school to look at improving the crossing facilities. So it's obviously outside the girls' high school. It has public transport services either side, bus stops, and the school buses also park in River Road across the road from the school. So there's quite a large number of girls moving across morning and night for that. This is one where we went out and did consultation, and in clause 62 you will see the initial design that we put out for raising that and putting traffic signals in the location where the existing island is. Based on the feedback that we got and the desire to have more space for turning into the school, we re-looked at that location and came up with an alternate design, which we then went back out and consulted on, and that design is shown in clause 66. We've had further feedback from residents in that area, and we've had a couple of meetings on site to work through their concerns, noting that their concerns were not only about this particular piece of work but also some stormwater and flooding issues that have been happening. So at this stage we are recommending that elected members approve the parking restrictions. I would note that this is an item for discussion at a workshop next week with elected members. We are having a look at the design to see whether this is one that we could accommodate without doing a raised safety platform, and we'll discuss that next week. What I would note is that whether or not there's a decision made about the raised safety platform, in order to put the traffic signals in alone, we would still need these parking restrictions to be approved. So approving the parking restrictions today enables us to put in at least the traffic signals, and we can work through with elected members subsequent to this meeting as to whether or not that also includes raised safety platforms or not. Is that clear? And I'll take questions. That might be the easiest way from there.
Well, the board's lit up, so brace yourself. Councillor Wilson.
That's a terrible turn of phrase there, Chair.
Yeah,
Brace
sorry
yourself.
about that. Yeah.
First couple of questions, if I could. I think first one to Mr. Chris Allen. Chris, just confirm whether this is also part of the suite of projects that potentially you're working with the Chief Executive to bring as something we could stop?
Yes, my understanding, and Robin will correct me if she has a different problem, a different view, not a different problem. Freudian slip
Lots of
there.
problems.
Notwithstanding, your decision today was just about process. When it'll come to a briefing, and the options for elected members will be go, modify, or stop.
Correct.
Obviously not at that briefing, because the briefing
No,
isn't
no,
a
that-
decision-making
and-
process. But
Yeah, so following the briefing, there will be a report to the next Infrastructure Operations Committee to articulate your direction that we get and put it into decision-making.
okay, thank you. Question, if I could, I've got a couple to Robin. Robin, so just so I'm clear, what you've said today is if we approve
The restrictions.
the restrictions, yeah, which is not actually materially to do with the project, it's a consequence of the project.
Yes.
But if we subsequently decide that we're not going to do the project in
Yes.
any form or in a different form, does what you're asking us to approve today still stand? Do you still need that?
So what we achieved today is we close out the consultation process that we've gone through. And it enables us to, as Chris outlined, to then subsequently work through the 5th of March Infrastructure Committee, following a briefing, work through whether it's go as planned,
Yep.
go as modified, which would be signals without an RSP probably, or don't go at all. If it's a don't go at all, then we would, in a subsequent traffic panel, work through tidying up the restrictions that have been changed today, or that possibly could be tidied up with that report in March.
Okay, so I'm still not 100% sure as to whether or not we actually need to make a decision today, but maybe you could think about that while I ask you one last question. Why are we as a council, or why is it your professional opinion that we wed an RSP with a crossing? Why are we so embedded that they are always required?
So I guess we are dependent on what we consider to be best practice, and that is information that's coming through nationally through the likes of Waka Kotahi, but also overseas. We understand the concerns and the community feedback that's coming on raised safety platforms. When we look at Vision Zero and taking what we call a safe systems approach, this is the belts and braces for safety. We've had the example in Discovery Drive where we put in traffic signals, and then subsequently we had someone run a red light and hit a child, and therefore subsequently went back and put in a raised safety platform. Right. So it's for us, it's a do it once, do it right. It's certainly cheaper for us to go into a site once and to do everything. Traffic signals do provide a higher level of protection for pedestrians than what a marked zebra crossing does. But there is still the potential for somebody to run a red light, and that's when the raised safety platform helps with the lower speeds and therefore reduced injury.
Right. So you're not saying that if we'd done a raised platform, first of all, tragic that a child was hit, and that it's horrendous, and I feel for the parents. But you're not saying that if we'd done a raised platform that someone wouldn't have run the light, right?
That's correct.
Right.
Yes, it's
What
about.
you're saying is, in theory, if we'd done a raised platform, the speed of which they hit the child would have been reduced.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Thanks, Robin. What's the accident record like there?
So,
Have you done some work on that in that particular area?
so this is one where there haven't been lots of accidents. We've probably had some close calls that are not reported. And I guess with the safe system approach, it is that, you know, you've heard the age-old thing, does somebody have to die before somebody will do something about it? This is part of us trying to be proactive around all schools and to provide some good facilities for students to cross the road safely.
Yes, I mean, I often use it, and if we're going to go down to 30 k's there,
It's a variable 30, so it's
very-
only
very- at that time,
It's only, yes,
At that-
at
at
beginning
that-
and end of school.
at the
Yes.
crucial time,
Yeah.
which makes sense, and that's. Isn't it a bit of a double whammy if you've got a variable speed of 30k, which is really slow, and we're not getting accidents there now? Is it not a little bit too much to actually then put in a crossing as well, traffic lights as well? I mean, 30k is very, very slow,
So I guess
and there's good visibility.
Yes, sorry. So the 30k is certainly in place when school kids are crossing, but this is also a location where there's general bus users and just the general community using that crossing at other times of the day as well, and weekends and school holidays and those sorts of things. So it's the 30k variable certainly helps at the time when we've got the bulk of the students moving through, but that's not the only time that pedestrians are crossing at that location.
Okay. What about the impact on traffic queuing, because that area gets quite clogged up, particularly at those sort of times, school times and peak times? What impact on traffic do you think that will have?
Yeah, so I guess when we look at these sorts of facilities, we first look at putting in the zebra crossing and then have a look at whether that's the most appropriate solution or whether we should move to traffic signals. So a couple of things that we think about for when we're looking at zebra crossings is the traffic volumes. And when we've got high traffic volumes, putting in traffic signals means that we actually put more control, and we have more control on when the pedestrians get to cross. So if it's a zebra crossing, basically as a pedestrian turns up, legally, vehicles are required to stop and let them cross. And you could literally have, at a location like that, students drip feeding one at a time across the road, and cars would legally have to stop. By putting in traffic signals, we've got the ability to manage by time of day how responsive they are to the pedestrian asking to get the green man to cross. So that actually enables us to, you know, when the pedestrian hits the button, and it might be in the morning peak, that will hold the pedestrian a bit longer. Then when they let them go through, it will not automatically bring up a pedestrian cross immediately again if they push the button. So it's actually recognising and allowing that traffic to move through and free up again before they get to cross again.
Right. But what impact will it have on traffic queuing?
We think it will be minimal. There will be a small amount, obviously, but you've got other locations further down as you get through to Fairfield that are creating those sorts of delays anyway as they're working their way down through. So there might be a small queue, and then that will move through and join the back of the next queue that they're working their way through at that peak time.
Okay. Just last question, thanks, and that is, so you're wanting us to make changes to the parking restrictions now
Yes.
so that should we proceed with the project, then the traffic lights can go in and all that?
Yes.
If this council subsequently decides in the next few weeks not to proceed with the traffic lights, what would your intention be? Would you have to reverse the decision about the parking changes?
Yes, and we would just pick that up either through an appropriate motion as part of not doing the project or through this committee. And we will work that through with governance to.
So is this not, given that things have changed a little, is this not cart before the horse then? Would it not be better for us to actually wait and see what this council wants to do, and if we want to put traffic lights in at all?
So I guess for this panel, it's dealing with traffic restrictions, and we have gone out and consulted, and the staff recommendation is that it is best for us to work through and finish that process off by hearing it today and making a decision today. And then if there's a subsequent decision to do something different, then we work through that. So that's the recommendation that we've been given to close out that consultation process. The purpose of this committee is to approve traffic restrictions and not necessarily to approve the project. And I guess that's just trying to be clear around the role of this
Oh,
committee.
no, I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure about making a decision which we may have to reverse.
And
based on what we do in
it's unfortunate timing. Yes, but
Can't see why I
given
can't
where
wait.
we're at, given that we've done the consultation, given that we've published a report, our recommendation is that there is a
okay.
decision made today, and then we deal subsequently with, that the decision's made around the parking restrictions, and that subsequently we can work through a process as to whether the project proceeds or not.
Thanks, Robin. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Jeff. Next is Councillor Louise.
Cool. I just want to make sure that I've got this really crystal clear. So the staff recommendation for today is to just approve the paint changes.
Yes, it's the parking restriction changes.
So it doesn't include and we will put in traffic lights. That
This-
was part of the earlier resolution of council.
If we're not going to do anything at that site, we wouldn't need these restriction changes.
Okay.
These restriction changes are to enable
Some
a
change.
new crossing to
Yep.
be installed further down River Road,
Yep.
which will consist of at least traffic signals and perhaps RSP, a road safety platform. That decision is yet to be, can be worked through at a subsequent meeting. If there's a decision made on the 5th of March, for example, that all that's going to go ahead is the traffic signals, then we still need these restrictions.
Right, okay. And then if we, say today, we don't decide to do anything, we decide to wait, and then we do decide actually, yep, maybe we do something with just traffic lights.
Just before everyone gets comfortable, I'm just going to suggest that we take a 15-minute recess. I know we've just had a lovely little walk out in the sunshine, but I think if we just go and grab a cup of tea, it'll give us a chance to hit reset, and then we'll come back and kick into it. So with my lead, I would call a recess.
Can I go back at the top of the list?
Yeah, actually, you will revert back to that order. Yeah, so everything will be as is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because you were halfway through.
Yeah, it was, yeah, yeah.
Thank the chair for 15 minutes for me to remember my question.
Yeah. back at 10:30. Okay, we're back now. So we will resume where we left off, and I would invite Councillor Louise to continue her line of questioning.
So before the fire alarm, we'd established that, what had we established? If we make no decision today, but we later decide we do want to do something, it will still have to come back to traffic panel, and we'll still have to be like, yep,
Yes, we still need a formal resolution in order to make changes to parking restrictions.
okay. How annoying is that? Like, is that the desire to make a decision today? Is that it's, like, I'm just thinking about the contractual parts of it.
The recommendation by staff to make a decision today is to close out a consultation process that has
Okay.
been completed. And noting that there are other processes too that are being signalled to work through whether the project as a whole proceeds or in part.
Okay, so when you say close out the consultation, so that means we will, after today, go back and send a letter out and say this is happening?
Given that we know what's coming through, we will be looking to see what comes out of the workshop
Okay.
on Monday, and we will then be doing appropriate communication on a number of projects as to
Okay.
where things are going from there.
Cool, okay. And just a question on the kind of actual project rather than the process. The actual width of that piece of River Road is quite wide. With the current pedestrian crossing, is it built out to make it smaller for pedestrians to actually cross where it is currently?
So the current location is only a small central island.
Okay. And it's not zebraed?
Pardon? It's not zebra, no, excuse me. No, it's literally just an island in the middle of the road.
Okay, and how many other schools would have a width of road for students to cross that would be that wide? Is it unique in that it's an arterial, that it's that big?
I guess it's not as wide as some other locations. It's probably, we're trying to work through a number of schools. We've got Forest Lake, we've got Ellicott Road, those sorts of ones that we're looking at further. One of the suggestions by one of the residents was to take it further down the road, which is where it's even really, really wide. So this is a location that's not extremely wide for a crossing.
Okay. Okay, yep.
Awesome. Thanks, Councillor Louise. Deputy Mayor Angela.
Thanks, Chair. Robin, I'm looking at the feedback, so I'm on page 47, the feedback from FENS. They have suggested that they're putting it in this space would limit delay in getting across it and getting through there. And then there's a little bit more commentary. I know that the organisation's been working with emergency services to get their route planning maps. Have we got that yet?
No, we're still working through that process. So we've got maps from them where their trucks go.
Yeah.
What we're trying to understand better is what are the key routes that they use when they're under lights.
Right.
And so that we can really focus on those routes.
Yeah. So they haven't, in this particular feedback for this particular project, have they said this is a main route for them? I would think River Road would be.
We would be expecting it would be a route for them, yes.
Okay. So, and when will that work be completed? When will we really have identified their key routes? What do you say? Under lights.
Under lights,
Yeah.
yes. So we're continuing to engage with them
Yeah.
and trying to set up some meetings to finalise that.
Yeah.
And we're keen to do the same with St John's and police
Yeah.
as well.
So then, is it sensible to hold off, depending on what the outcome, whether that the council supports the project going ahead in whatever form, that there's no harm in deferring until we also understand what the emergency services, or particularly for FENS routes, are.
Yes,
say particularly,
and I guess part of what we're working with FENS as well is looking at those gradients and how flattening them makes a difference to their ability to negotiate over them.
Yeah.
So, yes, so that's a piece of work that's ongoing. I don't know what the timeline for that is.
Yeah, okay, all right. And just in terms of a question on the process, in terms of, public know we take, processes take a long time to work their way through our governance structure. An option we could have today could be just to defer this until after the Access Hamilton workshop, and then whatever the outcome of that is. We could do that without, it's still within the process of us making decisions. And the community aren't sitting at home watching our live stream right now, hoping like how we go ahead with the decision. I'm sure.
Yeah, I can't comment on who watches.
But yeah, no, my mum does. There's one, yeah.
I guess, the recommendation we've made as staff is we believe it would be worth making a decision today to close out that consultation that's been done, and then to move forward from there. I'm in elected members' hands as to how they wish to proceed.
There's no overwhelming consequence if it is deferred, if we take a bit more time.
We do have we've had a reseal through there. We need to do another final coat through there, so that's a piece of work that we're kind of holding at the moment for this. But given we've got a date of the 5th of March, then yes, we can hold.
But we don't reseal at the same time we do other things, because that's not what's happened through the Queen's Ave, through that whole area.
So what we've done as part of the reseal through there, we've changed some of the road marking to accommodate this, and ideally we would complete this work and then do that final coat so that everything looks lovely, but also really importantly is all nice and waterproof, so we've had any cuts in the pavement and that sort of thing. So ideally that sort of thing gets done before we get too much further into the sealing season. But if we've got a timeline, 5th of March, that should be sufficient for us to work to.
You're welcome. Councillor Casey Cox.
Yeah, thank you. Just a question around Waikato Dio in there. If you do know whether they consult widely with their school community, do you have any detail around?
No.
No. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, thanks, Robin. Just following on from Councillor Louise's sort of questions regarding the ramifications if we choose to delay, etc. I've understood you to say that if we delayed the decision today, and Chair, I'm mentioning that I intend to move an amendment that simply takes this issue to a subsequent meeting. Am I correct in saying that if we resolve the recommendations in the report today, and at a subsequent meeting we decide not to proceed with this project? I think you've told us that the traffic or the parking restrictions would not be required.
The changes, correct.
Right, and that would require us to have another meeting of this committee to unravel.
We've got plenty of other items coming through, so it's not going to be a special meeting. It would be just added to an item at a subsequent meeting.
Sure. And likewise, Robin, if we chose to defer this today, wait for certainty at next Monday and the 5th of March, since we have so many meetings coming, we could easily resolve to complete this task now at those meetings.
If that's elected members' choice.
Right, so it makes no material difference either way, other than what?
No, I think we've been clear about what staff's recommendation is. And you understand that, and you wanting to take a different path, and that's your option as an elected member to do that.
Thank you.
Councillor Maxine.
Thank you. Rob, you talked about the sealing season. Is there a finite period where that could be compromised in any delay?
Ultimately, we'd want to be finished by March.
Right. And so a decision at 5th of March would allow adequate time to do the kinds of changes that this council approves?
I believe so. I'm not a sealing expert, and a lot of it is dependent on the weather and temperatures, and none of us probably can foresee exactly what that's going to be like. But I believe that if we can get it done in March, we should be okay.
Okay, and then a 3-week timeframe would be adequate. I'm just interested also in how the majority of students get to school. Do we have any analysis on that? Presumably parents at that age aren't picking up and dropping off. It's also a boarding school and...
So I guess boarding school and day students. I think that like all schools, there's a good mix of students walking and cycling if they're nearby, catching the bus. So they've got at least 2 school buses in addition to using the public transport system. I do know that the back of girls of Dio and McNichol and that area also has an awful lot of parking occur at various stages, and we've in the past dealt with requests from residents in those areas about ensuring that the parking is done legally and that they can still get in and out of their properties. So I think it's probably a good mix.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And we don't really have an idea about what the students' view on the proposal is? Just that on page 47 that the school expressed support.
Yes, we've consulted with the school as such, as a body, yes.
Okay, thank you, that's all. Chair.
Excuse me.
Oh, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you.
Angela.
Robin, do you want to move on to a different, I just had a couple of questions around Tuikaramea Road.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to do that now?
Yes, I'm happy if that's all the questions on River Road. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tuikaramea Road is, just help me where that one is.
It's proposed removal of on-street parking.
Oh, yes, okay.
So from page, I'm looking at the pictures, from page 99 to
Yes.
100 to 101.
Yeah.
So can you just talk me through that project, consultation, etc.?
Okay, so Tuikaramea Road has been a combination of doing some pavement renewals and also a reseal through there. As standard practice, when we do reseals, we look at if there are opportunities to make changes to the road marking that will improve the safety through there, and in particular for cycling. So this was a site that it was identified that providing a little bit more width to the cycle facilities would be beneficial. That has been achieved via several things. One was narrowing the travelling width of the lanes for the vehicles, and in some cases some no stopping. We did some consultation around that proposal. We had some feedback on that, and we subsequently made some changes to the layout through there, and we've managed to get some of the parking back again, but there is still some parking that needs to be removed to provide the final desired layout.
Okay. So it looks like it's an awful lot of parking, on-street parking being removed with those really long yellow lines. And
So quite a few of them are existing. So so it's a bit of a combination of showing the existing restrictions as well as proposed. Yes.
okay, so on page, on page 99, there's some existing that look like that, existing no stopping that look like they're kind of on bends, and then there's, okay, so there's more proposed there. With the intensification that's going on here, is that going to, sorry, how many extra car parks are we losing?
I'm sorry, I don't have that number.
Okay, that's probably because there's not parked lines, right? It's just a
Yeah, it does depend on how
kind of
efficiently
parking
people
cycle
park.
lane road. It concerns me because there's a lot of intensification going in there, and I know the government forced us to not require parking for off-street.
Yes, and I guess this is an increasing problem in lots of locations
Yeah.
around the city where we've got that infill housing happening and the parking demand's increasing.
Yes. I also noticed there that we've now got this completely new, to me it looked completely new treatment of 2 double white lines. So I'm not,
So
what's that about? Is that part of the narrowing the road carriageway?
So that's, I guess, a little similar to what we've tried to do on the Victoria Bridge, Anzac Street, where we've got the two lanes. This is again a site where there's some more tidy up reseal to be done. So there's some road marking down, and that is yet to be finalised pending the outcome of today's meeting. We're trying to provide a bit of a buffer for cyclists without going to the full extent of putting in hit sticks or the solid concrete separators that we've got in other locations. So I guess I would describe the Victoria Bridge as being sort of the easiest to say it's going to look like that. That's the idea, just that bit of space.
I think I'd really like to, I know a lot of I'm in this area, right? Full disclosure. So, and I also know a lot of people in this area have been talking to me about this. One of the questions from several of them was how many less cars will we be able to have parked on the road? So we don't have that right now. If we defer this item so we can get that information, so I feel, I need to go back to them and explain that, and it just looks like a lot to me as well.
Yep.
And sorry, I just saw lots of yellow lines. I didn't see the little buttons that say existing. But then when you add the proposed onto the existing, it feels like a sledgehammer to crack a nut kind of treatment.
Yep. No, that's
So,
fine.
and I understand the road is quite wide anyway, so surely there is room for everyone. So, so if we can do that, we'll obviously put it to the vote, but.
Yep. So does that go?
Right. I had Faux Street next on my list. Is that okay for everyone?
Yep, please.
Cool, okay. Which is page 50. Okay, so the Faux Street item, which is clause 80, page 50, is an existing path. It's basically metal/dirt path that's been worn out on a grass strip that runs between Faux Street and Pembroke Street. So we're proposing to put in a 3 metre wide concrete path there. And we're intending to, as part of a general tidy up of these sorts of connecting paths, to actually put it in the traffic bylaw as a shared path, to be clear about the legal use of it, and that this one is wide enough for both pedestrians and cyclists to use. In the consultation process, we have had feedback from an adjacent resident who's also provided a written response for today as well. I think that was included in the agenda Amy. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Deputy Mayor.
Sorry, I don't have one on that, I have one
Oh.
on Commerce Street.
Oh, okay. Okay, okay, councillor Maxine.
With regard to moving the gate, currently it sits right at the very top of the field, which means that children have to cross that muddy old field in the middle of winter in order to get to a 3 metre wide path that gives
Yep.
them much better access. Whereabouts would that gate then be situated, if that's something that's going to be
I
moved?
believe that we were looking to realign the gate because it's on a slight angle, but happy to work with the school, given that we're going to be moving it and playing with it. There quite potentially is a better location as well. So, yeah, happy to work with the school to get the best location sorted as part
Great,
of that.
because I just don't believe that that would be a positive thing for the school.
Yeah.
There is a back gate that is used at the school on Faux Street, and I guess that would be a better solution there.
Yep, no, I bow to your superior knowledge of the school.
Thank you. And again, it's something that's supported by the school, that's correct, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, this has been an item that they've been asking for a very long time. I guess it helps with some of the work that we're doing with the school that enables the kids to go up to Pembroke Street. There's a really good crossing facility there, and for parents to then be waiting in around the lake type area to try and reduce the amount of congestion that we get right outside the school. So it works in really well with that program as well.
Great, thank you.
Mayor Angela, you're back on the board.
Robin, just on Commerce Street, I'm on Oh, you're still not, sorry, okay.
Do you want to wait?
Of course.
Yeah. Would you like to wait? Yeah, okay. Councillor Louise.
Not trying to create unpleasant conversation, but just curious about if there were any specifics around the unwanted activity. Like, is it kids loitering? Is it vaping? Like, is it that people are staying too long, or is it that people are being noisy when they move through there? I'm sort of just curious about the what it is.
I'd have to refer to Matt, who's been working directly with the resident, so.
So it's a mixture of things, so skateboarding, trolleys, graffiti, motorbikes,
Okay.
all that sort of thing.
So some of that will be solved by the Staples?
Correct.
Okay. And there was a line in here about we offered planting and landscaping to discourage?
Correct. So there's a fence there where there would have been enough space within the grass berm to do something, and we offered that to the resident. They declined that offer.
Okay, cool.
Did they give you a specific reason as to why they declined?
No, we were just working through different options and to trying to accommodate their concerns, and they didn't feel that was, I guess, necessary to address what they were concerned about.
Yeah, okay. Okay, right. Okay, that seems to be all on that one. Sorry. Would you like?
If you can give me a page number so that I just know where you are, that would be.
114.
Okay.
It's just rescinding a bus stop,
Yes.
Robin.
Yep.
There, when I'm looking on Google Maps, there's a new bus shelter there. So it says it's rescinding outside 47, but there's also markings outside 53 that are quite old. The old bus stop, is that what's happening? Which one are we doing? I'm a bit confused. Is it outside the Cozy Club?
Sorry, I don't have.
Shall I show you?
Yes, no, it's more that I haven't been directly involved with that. I'm
okay.
assuming that they've basically done some work with the regional council, working out exactly which of the bus stops they're using. There's several. I noticed that. Note that Councillor Wees also raised McDonald and Wellington.
Yeah.
We've just been working through.
Okay.
What we do often is when we put in new bus stops, we're not rescinding the old ones.
Right, I think that's what,
And we're having
although I
a
park
period
there,
of,
so it's
you know,
quite
6
helpful.
months just to see that the new bus stop is working well.
Yeah,
And that,
Yeah.
you know, it's worked for the passengers, et cetera, before we go, right, that's the one, we'll take the old
Yeah,
one out. So
okay.
that was the tidy up that we were doing through
I
there.
think so. I think, because the one that's there is working well, and after working at night too, actually, which is quite strange because it's a dark area. So I think you're taking out the one that is very old and actually opposite 53, and it's quite handy because I park there, because it looks like a bus stop, but I know it's not a bus stop, and I park there through my dance club, so I'll be gutted.
Is that really a question?
Yes, it was. Because no one else parks there.
Okay.
So just, I guess, the other things that was, I was just going to give elected members a quick, the cycle paths register, as I sort of noted in the Faux Street item.
Sorry, Robin, can I just interrupt
Sorry.
you? I think Councillor Maxine has.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Max.
Or I see on page 98, you're taking out some parking between 442 and 446 Te Rapa Road. I just wanted to know what the rationale was for that. Putting some no stopping lines on, I think, actually. Proposed parking restrictions, 98. I don't know.
The diligence numbers are one off.
Oh, okay.
Parking restrictions on Te Rapa Road.
Te Rapa Road, outside 44.
Outside Bunnings, it is. Yeah.
So, Deecha?
I mean, I can see masses of parking inside Bunnings, but, you know, people might not be shopping there. Yeah.
That was a request based off from Bunnings because they've got large delivery trucks accessing through that entrance. So
Is it a driveway?
yes, it's like there's a driveway just for delivery trucks over there, I believe.
Okay. I mean, it doesn't look, I can see that. But yep, thank you. That's perfect.
Okay, so I was just going to talk to the cycle paths. So just to get our traffic bylaw registers complete, we've been looking at, we've had some summer students, so we've been doing 2 pieces of work. One is to look at where we've got those connecting footpath cycleways between roads. So we're getting them registered, and where they're wide enough and safe for shared use, we're adding that to the register. The other piece of work that's been ongoing is just making sure that the markings, the cycle lanes, on-road cycle lanes that we have on the road are reflected correctly into the bylaw. And there was, originally we had the Ulster Abbotsford proposal in here, and when we took that out, we've missed some bits and pieces, so there's some information in Ulster Street in the body of the report, but not in the recommendations, so apologies for that. And finally, at the end of it, is some more all-day paid parking that we're implementing. And that, I think, is the end.
Councillor Louise has a question for you.
This is my last question. Page 39, this was back in the Tuhu Karamea stuff, but makes reference to Biking Hamilton. I was just really curious. Is it a new psycho advocacy group? Is it a misrepresentation of Bike Waikato? Is it?
I'd have to check, and
Okay.
we'll tidy that up when we come back.
I was like, new guys. Who are the?
Sure, Councillor Wilson.
I've indicated an amendment, but I also knew Councillor Angela had a potential amendment for, which was the Fraser Law submission one, Wilshire. I guess my question through you, Chair, to Councillor Angela, if she just wants to throw in my suggested amendment of delaying the River Road to the subsequent meeting in hers.
Yes, Amy, can you pop up the 2 for me, please? Because the rest of the staff stuff, I'm happy to move.
Yeah. And throw out mine, and maybe if you're happy with mine, we
Yeah.
just combine it with yours.
Yeah.
For tidiness, could we go with, can you pop up?
However you've
Basically the staff recommendation, but I've removed out River Road and
Wiltshire and Tuikaramia.
Wiltshire was not in there at all.
Oh, no,
because the
okay.
recommendation was to do nothing.
So is that going to be something
So
separate?
we'll take that one afterwards, and then Tuikaramia Road, we'll take that out, just to tidy those.
Vote
up.
on the
And-
first lot, and then
yeah,
we can
and then
litigate
our-
the other three?
Yeah,
Perfect.
to make it nice and simple, because then we can show the whole lot on the screen rather than now.
Yeah, whatever works for you, Amy.
Thank you.
So that's the first one, and the other... Is it three that we're talking about?
Yeah.
Sorry, so that's just taking out the entire block, and which was Angela's question earlier on to the parking spaces. Until we got that determined, we take out everything in that section. And
What about the rest of the suite? How is that captured?
everything else we'll do as a mega motion,
Okay,
mega motion,
all right.
where
Okay.
it goes over a couple pages.
To me, that sounds sensible. The way that, it's always been that way, right? The ones that we weren't sure of, we take out.
Take out.
The ones that we are sure, we move en masse, and then we do them, yeah. So Angela, if you're happy to keep my one and your one, then...
Yep.
In which case, I'll second your motion.
So we're going to move the staff recommendation.
First question going to be.
Yep. So would anyone like to move the staff recommendation?
I'm happy to do that.
Councillor Maxine? I'm happy to second it unless someone else was. Yep. Would you like to debate? Yeah, sorry. Oh, sorry. For clarity?
Either that, if someone can spell it out to me one more time, that'd be
Yeah.
To Karamea Road, Wiltshire,
We're not voting on that yet.
River.
No, they've been set.
and I need to, if we have
Actually, I think Deputy Mayor Angela's going to explain it to us.
Thanks, Chair. So mine and Councillor Walsh's motion, everything that's in the staff recommendation excluding Wiltshire, so that's to come back for staff to have another look at that. Tuikaramia, so staff can analyse exactly how many parks, and River Road. Councillor Wilson.
Right. Right. As the mover of the motion, Councillor Maxine? The first
So
one.
the first part of the
Recommendation.
motion is to
Staff recommendation.
to look at the staff recommendation on page 24, with the exception of the items that Deputy Mayor has discussed today, and the addition of a treatment in Wiltshire. So the rest of the items that are on there are our usual work. It's about tidying up the cycle lane improvements, sorting out the technical work that the other bus stops, the rescinding of different treatments around our city and on our network, and actually it's all very legitimate, and we commend the staff on the work that they've put together to bring to us 130 odd pages of this work. So it's not insignificant work, and just want to acknowledge the balance that they advise us and use in order to be able to make the best decisions that we can around that. So in terms of the staff recommendation with those exceptions, I'll be moving it. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions of the mover? You can question the mover. You can't? Okay. Right. Procedural issue. Sorry. Right. Into debate we go. Councillor Louise, would you like to start off?
That was debate.
That was debate.
Sorry. Continue.
I just have a few very brief things to say. Just want to thank staff for their work on this. I actually really enjoy traffic panel because I quite enjoy seeing requests come through from people in the community that we honour and that we bring forward and we do stuff with. And I think that that's really nice to see that, you know, some people do want no stopping lines and some people do want us to shuffle things around. And so I really appreciate that. I also appreciate the ways in which staff have outlined in the report when they've changed a design through feedback. I really appreciate that being acknowledged, that they've worked with the community and they've listened and they've, you know, adjusted how things are. It's really great to see that illustrated in the report. And then just finally, there were one instance of adding mobility parking and one instance of moving mobility parking. Yay, mobility parking! The other part of traffic panel that I really enjoy. So also just really grateful for our continued work in that space as well, because I know getting that right is really massive.
Right. Thanks, Councillor Louise. With no other questions on the board, I can give you right a reply if you'd like, Maxine. Councillor Maxine?
No, there's no.
Okay, all right. Okay. All those in favour? Sorry?
So just for
Yep.
just for clarity.
Yep.
This is just the balance of the items.
Not your three other matters that we're going to keep going through.
So this should be a really simple one.
Would you like us to vote on?
We just have to get back in the practice of these.
Here we go.
So, Chair, sorry, just process.
Yes.
It's just occurred to me what's happened, and my motion was to move what we've just done with the exception of those three, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, with the words refer, defer, something or other. That was my intention of the motion, not to pull them out and do it separately. That's what I wanted, and that's not what happened. So my motion was then split in two. That creates a completely different voting pattern / opportunity that I wasn't looking for.
So my explanation was that what we're doing now. So we've miscommunicated with each other.
We have,
because
and
the normal practice
yeah.
that we'll do in these meetings is we'll remove and then try and do this.
Yeah,
which is why I was trying to redo the normal, which is what I was trying to explain, but clearly that hasn't come across.
No, and I've only just now realised what has occurred.
Are we too far down the
Also what we've
track?
done in the past, Deputy Mayor, is people that might want to support the bulk of the other get the chance to do that without voting against 2 or 3 additional changes that people might want to make.
But appreciate that. Been here a long time. understand it's politics, isn't it? Okay, anyway, we need to move on.
I'd love to see the motion. It would really help.
It's many pages, Arnold.
Oh, no, I mean, just
The other ones?
yeah,
Or we're about to do those.
For that,
That's what that's what I'm about to show up on the screen is all the matters that we're going to do, but yeah, I did show them earlier, but I'm just trying to get it so that I can call the vote.
so Councillor Louise, I think, has got a question for clarity.
My question was, I was too busy listening to the Deputy Mayor that I did not vote the first time. Are we going to is this a re-vote?
That's what I'm trying to.
Okay, so all of us need to re-vote?
Okay, so I'm really sorry. Are we now
On the big suite of everything excluding the three.
Okay, I understand, thank you.
Motion. It doesn't touch on any of the three matters that you've got questions on. No. The motion is carried unanimously. Now can you please show the three together? Unless there is direction that we need to take it in parts.
No, because it's the motion that I'm putting up, and I didn't want to take it in parts. And that was my issue, the original motion should have been what I as an elected member wanted.
And
But
then
it's done now.
also would reverse the order in which we did it. Is
That's
that
okay.
okay?
It's done.
Okay.
So now we're doing the three
Yes.
sites.
Yep.
Tuikariwea River
Yep.
and
Yep.
Wiltshire.
Yep.
So as the mover,
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I thought it was just as
just quickly, I feel the same today particularly with Wiltshire as I did when we had the owner of the business in Vialoo Street, where she wanted paid parking. She wanted the turnover back. She didn't want commuter parking outside her business. And I spent a long time talking to her and meeting with her, and this is the same with Mr. Fraser Law. This is our job, is to represent the people and find a way forward and find a solution forward. So I thank the committee in advance for their support. I have spoken to Robin Denton about this, and she understands that, we can go back and we can have another look at it and look for a solution. In terms of the other projects, I'm supporting them for similar, well, certainly the Tuikariwea one for the same. I've had a group of residents reach out to me. On the face of it, it doesn't look like the right thing to do, so I need a bit more information. And happy to support Councillor Wilson and Councillor Taylor's concerns on River Road. And quite frankly, I think it's just the proper process. Thank you.
great. Thank you. The seconder of the motion is Councillor Wilson.
Thanks, Chair. I too, well, clearly I'm supporting Councillor Angela in her motion. Of very recent times, this committee has had some challenges where, due to a change of multiple circumstances, we occasionally are using this committee to relitigate issues that have stemmed from a higher committee. And I think that's simply a function of the current environment. But where I truly believe makes sense is to delay decisions where we know actually that council has signalled an intention either to rework the project in a working group in terms of potential design alterations, or in the broader sense that it's subject to either a revocation or a signal from the Chief Executive where he's looking at bringing a suite of potential changes back to the 5th of March. And it doesn't make sense to me that we make these decisions that we know potentially will need to be reversed. Now, I accept that you can take the total opposite position, and that you can say, oh, well, we can make the decisions now, and as a result of a subsequent meeting, if we need to, we can simply unmake the decisions. Here's the problem. The problem with that strategy is the public optics of that. So we have people who are watching this program, we have potentially media who will make reports about this, and that we've made this decision in light of the fact that we're actually about to relitigate the entire thing. And so we're left with this odd, perverse scenario where the public will see us having to unravel decisions. It makes more sense to wait, make a final decision, then implement those decisions.
Thank you, Councillor Ewan. Councillor Jeff.
Chair, I support the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Wilson's motion. In regards to the River Road thing, I understand the staff's desire to tidy up the consultation process, but I'm not convinced we need to make a call on it today. That's all I'll say on that one at the moment. Philosophically, I only want to see no stopping, no parking conditions implemented on our residential streets when it's absolutely necessary. And I strongly support the Deputy Mayor on Tuhikaramea Road, having another look at that. In terms of Wiltshire, I was less convinced. I was happy enough with the staff position on this, but I'm happy to go along and allow another look at that particular street. So, yep, support it today. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Jeff. No one else on the list? I'll just weigh in by saying that I'm intending to support the motion as well, because I think it's been well thought out and articulated in such a way that it makes a lot of sense. It would be remiss of me if I didn't throw in a sporting analogy, but sometimes in cricket, when you run between the wickets, you say wait first before you take a run. So hence, those of you who don't understand cricket, perhaps have a chat to me afterwards, and I'll run you through that one. Deputy Mayor, as the mover, would you like? No, Councillor Ewan, you're okay? Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we'll put the motion to the vote, and we'll go to the board.
The motion is carried unanimously.
Great. Right, so just one more item on the list here. We have item number 7, and that is the temporary road closure for the Children's Day and Chinese Lantern Festival. Oh, great. Okay. Okay. All right. Angela and Jeff. Yep. Deputy Mayor and Councillor Jeff, sorry, I should say. Okay, well, do you want...
I'm happy to answer the question.
Yeah.
This is an activity that happens every year.
Well, as far as I can recall, it's an activity that is well supported by Hamilton City Council, and yet 42 days notice hasn't, that milestone wasn't met. What's our involvement with the organising group, and how can we help to streamline it for them in future years?
Yes, it is a regular event. I think the reason why this one tripped up was normally the Chinese New Year is on a separate day, and so there was some time looked to bring the two together and working through that process with the two groups. I think the outcome of not having two lots of closures on two subsequent weekends is great, and I'm sure for the community it means that it's a great day with two events on in the one place. But I believe that that's been the issue that meant that they missed that date.
Okay, thank you.
Great. That was the only question. Okay, let's put the motion to the vote. You want to go on? Yeah, or we can just do this one on hands. All those in favour of the motion? Yeah. Those against? Aye.
Carried unanimously.
Okay, well, with that in mind, thank you everyone for coming along today. I'd like to also weigh in and just say thank you very much for Councillor Ewan and Deputy Mayor's experience in these matters. It is greatly appreciated. As still a relatively newbie around the table, we do respect the experience and that you bring to the table. Enjoy the sunshine, wear sunscreen, and that's the meeting closed.